A world map looks permanent. Bold borders, solid colors, names that feel immovable. Yet in the last 2 centuries, the map has shifted again and again. Countries have merged, split, been absorbed, or quietly voted themselves out of existence. Some have lasted generations, while others have only had a few years. Today, we're tracing the outlines of modern nations that vanished where they sat on the map, what their borders look like, and what replaced them after the lines were redrawn. It all begins in the heart of Europe. After 1945, Germany was carved into zones, and by 1949 those zones became 2 countries. East Germany, officially the German Democratic Republic, ran from the Baltic coast near Rostock down to the Ore Mountains on the Czech border. To its east was Poland, to its west the Federal Republic of Germany. Berlin was the fracture point, a western island inside of East German territory, and then a wall, concrete, watchtowers, death strips cutting the city and the country in 2. For 4 decades that border was one of the most tightly controlled lines on Earth. In 1989, the wall opened up, and in 1990, East Germany disappeared. Its territory didn't become a blank space. It returned to the map as 5 federal states, including the reunified city-state of Berlin, all within a single Germany. The line remains in archives and museums, but not on the ground. If East Germany vanished by joining its twin, another Central European country vanished by agreeing to part ways. Czechoslovakia began in 1918 in the middle of Europe, a landlocked state centered on Bohemia, Moravia, and Slovakia. On a modern map, picture a rectangle between Germany and Austria on the west and south, Poland on the north, and after World War II, the Soviet Union to the east. Prague set near the western half, Bratislava near the Danube on the Austrian border. On January the 1st of 1993, one line became 2. Czechoslovakia dissolved peacefully into the Czech Republic and Slovakia in what's called the Velvet Divorce. Borders barely moved, internal administrative boundaries became international ones. One country disappeared, 2 neighbors took its place. Not every disappearance was tranquil. In the Balkans, one name vanished as 7 others appeared around the Adriatic and Dinaric Mountains. Yugoslavia formed in 1918 and later became a federation stretching from the Julian Alps to the Macedonian Plain. Think of a crescent along the Adriatic. Slovenia and Croatia on the coast, Bosnia and Herzegovina tucked behind them, Serbia in the interior, with Vojvodina in the north and Kosovo in the south, Montenegro on the mountainous shoreline, and North Macedonia to the southeast. In the 1990s, the federation unraveled. Slovenia and Croatia left first, then Bosnia and Herzegovina, then North Macedonia. What remained as Yugoslavia rebranded as Serbia and Montenegro, and then split again. The single label, Yugoslavia, would vanish. In its place, 7 names: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Serbia, and contested for years before broader recognition, Kosovo. The coastline stayed, the country name did not. If a regional federation can disappear, so can a superpower that once spanned 2 continents. The USSR sat across 1/6 of the planet, Baltic shores to Pacific tundra, Black Sea steppe to Central Asian deserts. On its western frontier was Norway, Finland, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Romania, all at different times, while on the south, Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, China on the east, and the Sea of Japan and the Bering Strait. In December of '91, the Union dissolved. 15 borders that had been internal became international, now often referred to as the Commonwealth of Independent States. The land stayed where it always was, and the political lines changed everywhere at once. But not every vanished country was huge. Some were small, independent, and very clear on the map until a vote or treaty erased their outline. From 1907 to 1949, the island of Newfoundland and the vast mainland of Labrador north of today's Quebec formed the Dominion of Newfoundland. On a map, a large island guarding the mouth of the Gulf of St. Lawrence and a wedge of mainland coastline marching north to the Arctic. Economic collapse during the Great Depression ended self-government, and after World War II, a referendum chose union with Canada. In 1949, the Dominion disappeared, becoming Canada's 10th province, later renamed Newfoundland and Labrador. The geography stayed identical, but the country label did not. Across the Atlantic and deep into the Pacific, another independent name disappeared when it changed flags. In 1795, the Hawaiian Islands unified as a single kingdom, and the borders were literal shorelines. A blue ring of Pacific defined the entire country. In 1893, the monarchy would be overthrown, and in 1898, the United United States would annex the archipelago. Hawaii then became a U.S. territory in 1959, becoming the 50th state. The islands didn't move, and the borders became part of a much larger country that was separated from them. Some vanished countries existed for only a few decades, drawn by language or politics, and then redrawn again. At independence in 1947, Pakistan was split in two pieces, separated by 1,600 kilometers of India. West Pakistan sat where today's Pakistan sits, and East Pakistan occupied the delta on the Bay of Bengal, surrounded on three sides by India and touching Burma in the southeast. In 1971, East Pakistan became Bangladesh. A line around the delta stopped being the border and became the border of a new country all its own. West Pakistan continued as Pakistan, and one hyphenated country became two neighbors with very clear river delta frontier. Farther east, another state vanished when its southern half stopped existing as a separate country at all. From 1959 to 1975, South Vietnam occupied the southern portion of today's Vietnam. Its northern edge was the demilitarized zone near the 17th parallel. To the west were Laos and Cambodia, and to the east, South China Sea, and the Mekong Delta fanned into the Gulf of Thailand. Saigon, near the delta's apex, would be the capital. In 1975, the North took Saigon, and in 1976, the country would be reunified as the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. The internal line at the DMZ would vanish, and the coastline stayed identical from the Red River to the Mekong, but the label South Vietnam would leave the map. While South Vietnam disappeared by merger with its northern counterpart, another pair on the Arabian Peninsula erased each other by choosing one name. In the north, the Yemen Arab Republic ran from the Saudi frontier down through the highlands towards the Red Sea, while in the south, the People's Democratic Republic of Yemen stretched from the Omani border across to the Gulf of Aden. A diagonal internal border cut the peninsula from northwest to southeast. In 1990, the two states unified as the Republic of Yemen. The internal frontier disappeared. The coastline from the Red Sea headlands to the Arabian seaports became a single outline. Both North Yemen and South Yemen would leave the list of countries. But not every union worked. One cross-regional experiment spanned Africa and the Levant and then snapped back within 3 years. In 1958, Egypt and Syria combined as the United Arab Republic. On the map, it created a two-part state, Egypt along with the Nile and the Mediterranean, and Syria on the eastern Mediterranean coast, with Lebanon and Israel as neighbors and Jordan and Iraq beyond. In 1961, Syria would leave the Union. Egypt retained the UAR name for a while and then dropped it. The composite outline vanished, and Egypt and Syria returned to the map as separate states with their original borders. The United Arab Republic then became a historical label. Some disappearances weren't unions or defeats. One was a deliberate Allied decision to erase a state that had defined Northern Europe for centuries. Prussia had once stretched from the Rhine and Westphalia in the west to East Prussia on the Baltic, Berlin and Brandenburg at its core, Pomerania along the coast, and East Prussia extended toward what is now Poland, Lithuania, and Russia's Kaliningrad. After 1945, the Allied Control Council dissolved Prussia by decree in 1947. Its western provinces were then folded into modern Germany states. Its eastern territories went primarily to Poland and the Soviet Union. On modern maps, you'll find Brandenburg and other territories instead of a single Prussian outline. The coastlines and rivers stayed. The name disappeared. In the Himalayas and on the world's highest plateau, another country's line faded as a larger neighbor's line grew. Before 1950, Tibet functioned as a de facto state on the Tibetan Plateau. Its mountain borders touched India, Nepal, Bhutan, and China to the north, and the plateau rolled toward the Kunlun and the deserts beyond. By the early 1950s, Tibet's administration was incorporated into the People's Republic of China, and in 1965, the Tibet Autonomous Region would be formally established within China's provincial system. The plateau is still there. It's massive, elevated, and distinct, but the international border once drawn around Tibet no longer appears as a country line. Not all vanished countries were far away or mountainous. One sat on the Baltic, squeezed between Germany and Poland, with a status unlike anywhere else in Europe. After the First World War, the Treaty of Versailles created the Free City of Danzig to give Poland access to the sea without placing the predominant German city inside Poland. On a 1920s map, it's a compact coastal territory on the Baltic, and today its surroundings are bordered by the Polish corridor on land and the sea to the north. In 1939, Nazi Germany annexed the Free City, and after 1945, it became part of Poland. The city's name standardized as Gdansk. The special status then disappeared, and the coastline remained, but the Free City border stopped existing. The Atlantic's edge holds another story, a small European protectorate that slid back into a larger state by vote. After 1945, the Saarland on Germany's western edge bordering France and Luxembourg became a French-administered protectorate with its own international status. Its borders hugged the Saar River Valley and the industrial towns around it. In 1955, the population voted in a referendum, and in 1957, the Saar joined the Federal Republic of Germany as a state. The protectorate disappeared. The line became an internal German state boundary again, and not an international border. Vanished countries aren't only European stories. A name in West Africa flashed briefly on maps, then disappeared into a larger outline. In 1967, the southeastern region of Nigeria declared independence as the Republic of Biafra. On a map, it ran along the Bight of Biafra, wrapping the Niger Delta and extending inland to include other major territories. Cameroon lay to the east, and the rest of Nigeria enclosed it on the north and west. In 1970, it surrendered, and the territory then rejoined Nigeria. The short-lived border around the delta would vanish. Today, the same rivers and creeks lace the coastline, and the country line there is once again Nigeria's. But not all vanished names were separatist. Some were sovereign for a time, and then chose or accepted a different status by treaty. Between 1836 and 1845, the Republic of Texas occupied a vast space between the Sabine River on the Louisiana line and the Rio Grande claimed in the southwest, with the Red River and Oklahoma plains above. The Gulf of Mexico formed the southern shoreline, and Mexico lay to the west and south. In 1845, Texas would join the United States, and over time, the border with the United States would be fixed at the current state outline, with claims farther west being ceded. The country vanished, the state remained, and the border today touches New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and the Gulf. We've seen unions that vanished and states that merged, and one more case joined people across language lines and then broke apart within a generation, leaving several modern countries where one had stood. From 1867 to 1918, the Austro-Hungarian monarchy occupied a large central and eastern European space. Austria proper in the Alps, Bohemia and Moravia in the north, Galicia stretching toward today's Ukraine, and Hungary's Great Plain, with Croatia, Slovenia on the Adriatic hinterland, Transylvania in the mountains, and Bosnia and Herzegovina annexed in 1908. It bordered Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Romania, Russia, and the Balkans. In 1918, the dual monarchy dissolved. Borders snapped into a mosaic, with Austria in the Alps, Hungary on the plain, Czechoslovakia between them, and the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, later Yugoslavia to the south. Romania expanded into Transylvania, Poland took parts of Galicia, and later Ukraine took the Far East. The single border of Austria-Hungary disappeared, a cluster of modern outlines took its place. One last vanished name sits in the Himalayas' shadow, neither federation nor empire, but a small kingdom that changed flags within living memory. Until 1975, Sikkim was a monarchy wedged between Nepal to the west, Bhutan to the east, and Tibet to the north, along with India to the south, and its borders ran along high ridges and deep river valleys. A referendum in 1975 approved union with India. The Indian parliament admitted Sikkim as a state. The international border around it would then vanish, and its outline stayed the same, but it became an internal state line within India. In 2 centuries, the atlas has kept changing. East Germany dissolved into a larger Germany, Czechoslovakia split quietly into 2 neighbors, Yugoslavia fragmented into a shelf of Adriatic and inland states, and many other countries and territories that were once on the map dissolved, transformed, and changed into different places. The lesson is geographic, not just historic. Coastlines, rivers, deltas, mountain walls all persist. Names and borders change around them. Today's map feels fixed because we live inside of it, but the last 200 years proves that countries can vanish and new ones can appear with a vote, a signature, or even a sunrise. The world is full of mysteries, and we're here to crack them. Thanks for watching World Cracked. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss another great video like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.